Hey girl, welcome or welcome back to Tricia Talks Podcast. We're here just chatting about real life and how we get through it as a Christian millennial woman. Today we are getting into the topic of one of my most cherished and favorite jobs of the last 2 decades, and that is momhood. Momhood, that's so silly. Anyway, we are going to talk about motherhood today. We're going to have a little bit of backstory about my experience with motherhood, as well as what I foresee my experience with motherhood and what I would like for it to be in the future. Now, me and my baby daddy, we was playing house for a long time. It had been almost 5 years. I went to summer school every year after freshman year. I went to summer school to make up some class, to fix something. Cause I was up there just playing house. I did not do what I was supposed to do the way I was supposed to do it. And I'm just going to be 100% honest right now. I fell in love and love fell on me, baby. That is so silly. I fell in love and love fell on me fell on me and fell in me. And by the time I finished school, there was a baby to show for it. Okay, so I went to school for retail marketing and management. I wanted to be a retail buyer. I interned in New York City. I did all the things. Interned with Target. I did all the things to line me up to be ready for completing school and getting my dream job. Well, I got the interview of a lifetime with one of my favorite companies, one that I already had worked for, TJX. And if you know, you know. TJX is that girl. Y'all still out here shopping at TJ Maxx and Marshalls and Home Goods. And at home. Y'all still out here shopping with them. Home Sense. Who is theirs? Home Sense or At Home? I don't remember. Anyway, I interviewed with TJX, but I decided that it would be best for me to be completely high. And in those days, I was a real weed head, baby. But yeah, I decided that it was best for me to be high to calm my nerves and be prepared. But when they started asking me questions that used that side of my brain and I needed my cognitive thinking, I was too high to give it to them. So they asking me about analytical questions and things of that nature. And I was drawing all kinds of blanks. I was giving the dumbest answers. So I already knew that I wasn't going to get the job. Very disappointed in myself. And this, I believe, is the first time that I've ever publicly discussed this incident. Needless to say, I also went to Charlotte to interview for a job. And of course, I got the job. I ended up moving to Charlotte. Well, on my way back from Charlotte interviewing, I started feeling a little sick. And I decided I was going to take a pregnancy test. Now, after 5 years and 4.5 of them probably being years of unprotected sex, here we go. Pregnant. So when I first met Jadon, it was freshman year of college, January freshman year of college. Probably February of that same said year, this young man told me that when I graduated from college, I was going to walk across the stage pregnant. Now, I walked across the stage in the summer, but I had to do another semester to complete my degree. So when I walked across the stage, I was not pregnant. However, when I was taking that final, that last week of school, before packing my bags, going to my already set up job in Charlotte, I was pregnant. I called my dad and I said, Daddy, I'm bawling my eyes out because I have to make this phone call to the bishop and let him know that his baby girl, who he already knew was shacking up. Like, let's be clear. Let's be clear. I was not hiding. Well, I did for a while, but I was not hiding the fact that I was in a relationship, and I was in a real relationship that I was like, might as well have been this man's wife. I mean, if I'm cooking your dinner and washing your clothes, baby, I might as well be your wife. And if you going to work and taking care of the roof over my head, baby, you might as well be my husband and I'm your wife. So we was playing house for real. And yeah, pregnancy hit me. I called my dad. It's finals week. And I'm bawling my eyes out. He said, "What are you crying for? What is going on?" So I tell him, "Daddy, I'm pregnant." He said, "How you know?" I said, "I took 3 tests." He said, "Okay." He said, "Well, what you're not going to do is worry about it right now." He said, "And what you crying for? All this means is you got to take care of a baby for the next 18 years. That's nothing to cry about." And then he followed it up with this statement. And I tell this to every young lady that I meet who ends up in a similar situation where they are pregnant before they choose to be. And as Christian women, where you are pregnant outside of marriage, which we know is a sin. Because we're not supposed to be fornicating, humping and dumping before you married. God, I'm so crazy. Humping and dumping is dumb. Dang, what was I saying? Oh, what my daddy told me. My father said, "The Lord is the giver of life. He is the only one that can give life, and he's the only one that can take away life." And that thing has stuck with me. Yes, you may feel guilt, shame, conviction because of the sin that caused that child to be conceived. But the child is a blessing. That child is not cursed. That child is a blessing. God allowed that child to come here for a reason. Pregnancy is one of the most important stages of motherhood because what you do to your body during that stage of pregnancy, it directly impacts your child. All of my children have parts of me that I can directly see the impact from the season that I personally was in my life while I was carrying them. We as mothers, we got to deal with us so that what we're pouring into our children is effective and it's going to be something that is of strong foundation that they can stand on. How you treat yourself, your children see. How you take care of yourself, your children watch that and they then emulate that. So if they see you stuffing your face with a whole bunch of junk, what make you think that you putting an apple in front of them and telling them no, they can't have the bag of chips that you eating is going to work? Because it's not. It ain't going to work. Same way, if you expect your kids to be Bible reading, praying, children that have relationship with God, who know who he is and understand who he is, that's going to come from you. That is our primary job, is to train up our children in the way that they should go. So when they get old, because they won't depart from what they have already been trained and taught. And I don't mean like smothering them like, "Oh, I got my hoodie tied up, I can't put it on." You can't be like, because then they don't even understand what you're saying. It's Jesus. Take the time to teach them. Who is Jesus? Why do we serve Jesus? Do you know that? For a large portion of my children's life, a good 7-ish years, I lived as a functioning depressed woman because I despised my life. I put on a smile. I put on a face. I did all the things that everyone expected me to do, but I was unhappy. And my children, who were the closest to me at that time, they felt the brunt of it. Primarily my oldest child, which, here's another something as mothers that I want us to do. As my daughter got older and as I started to heal and work on myself, there were things that I had to go back and apologize for. Just because we are the parent does not mean that we are without responsibility and accountability. We must take accountability for the things that we have not done right, especially when it has impacted our children. we got to go back and apologize. I had to go back to my daughter with tears in my eyes as she expressed herself with tears in her eyes. I had to apologize. I put more pressure on her. I put more weight on her. And it was not a, you got to do this. It was, I ain't doing it. I can't do it. And she felt that burden, so she picked it up. She picked up a lot of the burden of things that was not justly hers and that she carried weight for that she should not have had to carry weight for. And many of us are carrying weight that we should not have ever had to carry. So for those who are in that same situation as my daughter was, I pray the grace of God and the mercy of God cover you. I pray that you find healing in Jesus. I pray that you find forgiveness to extend to your parents. And I pray that at some point, if it's God's will, that he will allow you to hear apologies as well. That weight is not yours. It's just not fair. It's not fair because when you become an adult, you carry that stuff into your own families and to your own children. And then they carry that into their families with their children. And at some point, we have to start breaking these things. We gotta start breaking them. We have to. Otherwise, it will continue to pass down. So, all of that came from making sure you take care of yourself because your children see it. I have found a new level of joy in motherhood in these last few years, and God has shifted my perspective that I get to do this. This is something that I was chosen for, which means God has already equipped me for it. He's qualified me for it. He has given me the tools that I need. He's given me the wisdom that I need. And more importantly than all the things that I possess, I have direct access to him, which allows me all the wisdom that I need for this job. This is something that I was chosen for, and sitting in that seat rather than I have to do this, but I get to do this is completely different. It's completely different because then it pulls you into a different posture. It makes you want to pour the best of you and to then check the worst of you to make sure that you're not putting that into them. I'm also really grateful because my children are now older. They're not, little babies. So having that mentality as they shift into young adults and adulthood really is, I think, pivotal because we have to learn to grow with our children. Their knowledge, their perspective, their lens, their scope of view is much broader than what you may have allowed them to communicate with you about in their younger years. So evolving and growing with your children is super duper duper important. We are not creating mini-me's. God has given us these children, and while they may have our genetic makeup, they are their own individuals. God has placed them in your womb to bring forth into this world for a reason. I've said it before that I've made great sacrifices for the role of motherhood. And I don't regret not one of them. With every sacrifice, there was another lesson that I was able to learn to help make me into the woman I am today. I'm really grateful that while motherhood has been challenging because it was a direct, hold on y'all, you're about to get some husband time.
Well, crowd of people. What I say? What's up, girl?
What's up, babe?
Hey.
What?
So, are you gonna go to the 6 o'clock thing for Eli?
Are you coming home to go with me? No, right?
No.
Exactly.
I didn't plan on it.
Right, you don't have to.
Oh, okay. I was understanding your text. I saw you say you forgot, but I didn't know if you were expecting me to come home today.
No, babe, I wasn't expecting you to come home. I knew you wasn't. You got things to do.
Okay. You get the funds?
You don't see me record.
Yeah?
You don't see me recording?
Me say if you get the phone, then.
I said you don't see me recording. Me not check nothing yet.
Alright then, babes.
I'm in full. My phone is recording right now. You gonna be in the next podcast.
Wait. Reunite. Tell the people that me say reunite. I'm gonna let you go though.
Thank you.
Bye everybody.
See, life. That's how it go. That's how it go. Straight like that. One other thing I want to tell y'all is while mothering, it is important to be organized, to have your own systems, to have your own routines so that can be instilled in your children. This is why I do the planners and all of that kind of stuff, because being organized is super important. Hear me, it is never too late for change in anything. It's never too late for change. It's never too late for change. Implement some routines. My son will be 14 and we are still implementing routines. I'm telling you what I know. I've had to make routines, set schedules, and create change. Accept that change is necessary and create the change that I wanted to see. I want them up and getting ready and doing things, then that means I got to get up and be ready and doing things. So I get up earlier now. I may go to sleep a little earlier, but I get up earlier in the day, in the morning, so that I can be more prepared to handle them with love and not be rushing and fussing, getting them out the house for school. That's not a good way you don't want nobody screaming and yelling down your neck about the things that you should or should not be doing first thing in the morning before you got to go to work. So what makes you think your children want to have that energy on them before they go to school? No. You are a place of love, security, stability, encouragement. Yes, discipline, but discipline does not always have to be harsh. Discipline is not always a belt and screaming and yelling. Ew, no. Grow up and be mature so that you can use different tools of discipline. They're just as effective. I guarantee you they're just as effective. You don't have to do that. Now, I'm not going against the Bible by saying don't use the rod. Because if you spare the rod, you'll spoil the child, is what the Bible says. And the rod does not always mean a rod. Look, I got something right back here. It's one of my, I do not hit first of all, my children don't get beatings. I don't think they ever have. Maybe once or twice in their entire lives have I ever put my hand on any of my children. And it wasn't no beating, okay? I was looking for this the other day while I was cleaning my, the grout in my kitchen floor. This is my pole for my electric, what's it called? Electric scrubber. You know the things y'all use in the bathroom everybody got on TikTok? Anyway, but this is what I'm trying to say. A physical rod is not the only rod that there is. The rod of correction is not always a physical belt switch, something no. Cause also many of y'all are out here abusing children because you got issues that you need to deal with yourself. So you taking out your anger on your babies, and that's not right. That's not right. And God will get you for that too. Fathers, provoke not your children to wrath. Hello, somebody. As my brother say, let me put some Bible on it. Fathers, provoke not your children to wrath. Cause you come at me with something like this, my initial reaction is to come back at you. I wish a nigga would. And that's exactly how my kids would look at me if I came with them like this. Okay, so I think I rambled enough, and I want to leave you with 5 points that I think every mom should know and walk in. The first one is to give yourself grace. We don't know it all. And like I said before, as we evolve, we should be cutting off and adding adding the things that we need, that we're learning, that are beneficial, and cutting off the things that we see in us that need to be extracted from our lives. But as you go through that process, give yourself grace. We don't know it all, so we're not going to hit the nail on the head or get it right every time. We're not. Prioritizing self-care is super important. You have to be good to yourself before you can be good to anybody. That's kind of where I want to end with that. Whatever that looks like for you is that. However, I just hear far too much women that are overtly into self-care. I ain't in everybody's household, so if that worked for y'all, baby, whatever. Establish a strong support system. This can come in many shapes and forms. Your support system may not always be the grandmas and the grandpas, the aunties and the uncles. It just may not be. It could be the teachers in school. It could be the aftercare staff. It could be the bus driver. It could be the daycare provider. It could be one of the classmates' families. Do you understand what I'm saying? Support system can come from anywhere. It could be a coworker and their family. Support systems can come from anywhere, but create a village, a safe village. Create a safe environment where your children will receive the same type of love, support, raising, morals, biblical standards, they're getting the same thing from that village wherever they are in that village. Balancing faith and parenting is important. You got to have God as the foundation. Again, we don't know ourselves if we don't know Christ, because he is our creator. He's the one that made us. So unless we know him, we'll never know ourselves. The same with having the responsibility of raising children. Unless you know God and are walking with God, you'll never know the fullness of what your responsibility as a mother is, or how to mother. We live in a very ugly and dark world because there's so much wickedness in the world. But having discernment and being led of the Lord, I remember there was a time last year, the year before, where our children had a bomb threat or something at the school, but I was led to keep my kids home that day. And so they weren't impacted by the fear of all the franticness going on. Thank God it was just that. It was a non-viable threat. But yeah, we have to be in tune with God and make sure that we're prioritizing our spiritual relationship with Christ as much as we are prioritizing our responsibility of parenting. Last but certainly not least, I touched on this a little bit ago too, but flexibility is key. Learning how to be flexible is paramount as a parent. Your children change. I mean, from the littlest of things, of them liking Doritos one week and the next week they hate them. And you got a whole box of Doritos because that's what they liked. And now they can't stand them, so they don't got no chips for lunch. Baby, my son, he grew like 2 inches overnight. Now I'm forced to send him to school with high waters, or do I send him to school a little late so that I can go and get him something more appropriate? Right? Learn to be flexible. They're unpredictable. Situations in parenting is unpredictable. So you never know what you're going to get from day to day. So you have to be flexible. As much as it's important to be organized and have systems and schedules and routines, make sure that you allow grace for yourself and allow flexibility in your mind and in your heart. Allow that space so that you are not crushed or in a frantic and anxiety driven space because a change was implemented that you didn't know about or that you are forced to now adapt to at the last minute. Learn to be flexible. Give yourself grace. Prioritize your spiritual walk with Christ. Make sure that you care for yourself. All right. I love y'all. Thank you for watching another episode of Tricia Talks Podcast. I'll see you next Thursday, 3:00 p.m.